How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Australia wildfires and the crazy misinformation that is being spread about them all over the internet, all over television, all over everywhere. One of the main things I'm seeing are celebrities like your Kate Blanchett and Ellen and Russell Crowe going to the Golden Globes using the wildfires to highlight the so-called climate crisis. Oh, the world's in jeopardy. There's that and the third. We don't have much more time to live. And they're trying to say the Australia wildfires are a result of climate change. This whole thing is just not even really true. If you want to believe in climate change, my question would be, when did the so-called devastation from climate change begin? Let's talk about that, because the current wildfires that have been raging on Australia have burned about 8.7 million hectares of land. Now, there was another big time fire in 1974 in Australia that burned 117 million hectares of land. So 8.7 million to 117 million. I mean, if global warming is kind of a recent phenomenon, how do you explain the wildfires that happened in 1974 that burned a whole lot more land in Australia? And why is it that Australia was still able to exist after that? Why were the animals able to come back and all of this? You know, they keep saying like 500 million animals are in jeopardy or they've been killed. Well, there seems to be plenty of animals that have survived since the 70s. So we're not like at this stage of extinction. That's not really what's going on. But if you look at the media, if you watch them, listen to them and whatever they say, they will have you believe that we're at the end stages of planet Earth due to what's happening with Australia. They're posting these deceptive maps. I know you probably have seen the one where they superimpose the Australian continent over the United States, and then they highlight the places where fires are. It makes it look like where they have these little graphics. It might be like a little fire emoji or like a red strip over a certain area. It makes it look like that entire strip or that entire place where the red fire emoji is at, there's just a fire is going. That's not necessarily the case. They have certain plot points where fires are. It could be a big fire. It could be a small fire. Who knows? But that's just a plot point on the map. That does not mean that the size of the emoji is the size of the fire. It's just a pinpoint on the map. And the same thing with the little red band or whatever. That's just connecting the pinpoints together. That doesn't mean that this whole swath of land is ablaze. It's very misleading. But to the average normie, to the average individual, they may not know that until it's explained to them, because the mainstream media, they count on that. They put things out there without fully explaining it, thinking that you believe the worst, because that's just a natural human emotion. But I digress. The whole point is that the fires are being wildly misrepresented. Climate change ain't even really the big thing here, because Australia has arrested I think 24 people for arson. Okay, arson. So you have human beings that are setting fires intentionally and they're getting locked up for it. Another 100, 200 people have been arrested for other offenses that are not necessarily arson. People doing controlled burns outside of the fire season. There is a ban on burning because right now it's very hot. Southern hemisphere, the seasons are flipped. So we in the northern hemisphere are just now entering winter, but in the southern hemisphere, they have summer going on. So if you don't know about Australia, it's hot. It's a desert. Think California, but an entire continent, but even more dry at times. You know, there have been periods of torrential rain, and that causes a problem too, because the land is so much kind of like a desert environment. There's nowhere for the water to go, but different story. I digress. The point is that the land is not like some kind of plush tropical rainforest. It's not like that. It's kind of more like California in its terrain. But anyway, it's desert-like conditions, or a desert in general. It's hot. People are burning stuff. People are setting fires and getting arrested. You've had like 200 people get arrested for setting fires intentionally or unintentionally, you know, flicking the cigarette. But these are the things that cause wildfires in California that they're doing over in Australia. which is why they sent California firefighters to come over there and help, because they have experience with this kind of terrain and the fire and the way it spreads and whatnot. It's only like 20 guys going over there, so that tells you the extent of the fire. The fires are pretty bad, but it's not as bad as one may think. You know, they tried to blow up the whole Amazon rainforest fires as well, although the fires pretty much burn the same exact way every single year, from controlled burns and whatnot. And they did some of the same tactics. They put up a map with a bunch of plot points where the fires are, and then they make these graphics on the plot points be so big that it makes you believe that the fire is that big when it's really not. Okay, it can be a plot point the size of the pin of a needle. They'll make the actual graphic in comparison the size of Mount Everest. It's not telling you the full story. It's just giving you a skewed view of what's going on, so you become afraid for the environment and you buy into this whole thing of climate change. People like Greta Thunberg and Al Gore and everybody else that's involved in the climate change industrial complex can go out there, put up a false map or a misleading map of the Australia wildfires, of the Brazil wildfires, and they'll say, hey, this is what's going on, and if you want to fix it, you got to be to donate to some kind of climate change fund, or give me money, I'll fix it. Give Al Gore, the patron saint of climate change, some money, and he'll be able to fix it. That's pretty much where they want you to be. So as I close, I want to say this. The Australia wildfires are pretty bad, and my prayers go out to anybody that's out there, and, you know, hopefully everything gets back together. But it's not as bad as what the media is saying. It's not really that serious. It's just not. You know, they try to compare California's wildfires to Australia as far as the acres that were burned. But it's like, come on, California is much smaller than the continent of Australia. Okay, you've seen the maps where they have Australia superimposed over the United States. The California wildfires are bad, but it wasn't like everybody in the whole state was just burning. It's just not what's going on. All right. Australia is the same way. Fires happen. It's a natural thing. Lightning strikes, people, you know, setting fires, dry conditions, desert-like environment. And then you mix that with industrialization. Anything can happen. And I hope they don't have any solar panels out there, because that'll most certainly cause fire. You got these big panels. I'm talking about rows and rows of these panels that are just generating tons and tons of heat. It's only a matter of time before you get a leaf that brushes across it. It gets lit up from the intense heat that goes out there, hits a piece of dry vegetation or a dead tree, and now you got a raging fire. Hopefully they don't have anything like that going on, and they do responsible things to prevent fires, but who knows? It could be like California, where they don't cut down the brush that is going to be fuel for a fire because of some environmentalist aim. Hopefully they're not like that out there. If anybody's doing a thing like that, you know, not cleaning up the brush because of environmental reasons, they should be locked up right along with the actual arsonists, because they're all responsible for creating the fires. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that human beings are the cause of the fire? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Now, here's a little bit of a divergent point. Are they responsible because they set the fire intentionally, or are they responsible because my climate change, my SUV, and all this, that, and the third? Is that really the real reason, or is it as simple as somebody set something on fire and the fire spread out of control? Wasn't it back in the day when I was in school, you had a little bear, Smokey the Bear, talking about only you can prevent forest fires? Whatever happened to that? Now we're talking about, oh, you got to donate some money to some random number on your phone to prevent climate change. How about not setting a lit cigarette on the ground with a bunch of dead brush? How about that? How about not setting a fire intentionally to cause a big problem with the environment? How about that? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.